Déjame ver si está acá. Tiempo, amigas y amigos, muy buenas noches. Bienvenidos a la segunda y última transmisión de hoy. Narración de combate de Brian Castaño versus Patrick Teixeira y Jojo Díaz de la suerte. Siempre un momento. Recordarles, estamos escuchando en este momento. Buenos días, Oscar. Buenas noches. Doy un repaso. Los temas fueron prohibidos. Estamos en el round 7. Faltan 2 rounds para terminar. Luego se viene Brian Castaño versus Patrick Teixeira y Jojo Díaz remix. Las que quieren ver, UFC está en el 511, 510, canal principal de ESPN en Latinoamérica. Es que terminaba. Se van las peleadores a las.
Para que quiero una cuenta de las calorías que tienes cuando te ejercites y combinar perfecto con la membresía de gimnasio que te compré. Intentaste estudiar. Lo dije a la que estaba preocupada por él y que tenía que ponerse en forma. Tú sabes que uso hacer ejercicio, ¿verdad? Intenta haciendo una clase todas las semanas y estarás con más personas del gimnasio que me gusta que haces. Esto es importante para mí. Nos quedan muchos años de vida y quiero que se nos no sabía que tenía razón. Solo necesitaba que alguien que lo quisiera me dijera la verdad. Finalmente se levantó del sofá. ¿Cómo estuvo el entrenamiento?
Bueno, eso es que no gritaban para el hotel, mano.
Cuando Roger empezó a entrenar, ya no quería parar. Y el sexo era mejor que nunca. No me digas, ¿entonces tú para más? Honestamente,
Estamos en vivo y en directo. No control formato. Estoy en una transmisión de YouTube. Me voy a mi red social. Un momento.
Esas mujeres eran muy lindas, pero no me molestó. Digo, confiaba, ¿no? Creo que iría al gimnasio para mantener su disciplina.
Mañana también de pronto les traigo las 500 fechas de
Fue entonces que pensé que me estaba escondiendo algo.
Daytona.
No,
Uy,
no bromeaba.
el computador su cuenta lo tenía. ¿Qué es Compobots? No sé.
Lo negativo del nuevo estilo de vida de Robbie era que estaba llevando cada vez más a la casa. No estaba, no es de noche. Es una vez en la semana. Me estaba diciendo, hoy quieres apoyarme, así que lo dejé pasar. Además, hay peores lugares del gimnasio donde podría estar, ¿verdad?
No.
Un día, mientras comenzaba el gimnasio, sentí un gran dolor de cabeza. Me despertaba no podía conducir, entonces necesitaba que Roy pasara por la farmacia y me comprara mi medicina. Hola, mi novio está en el gimnasio hoy.
Aquí está.
Ni siquiera estaba ahí.
¿Qué es eso?
Llegó a casa 2 horas después. Hola. Y estaba lista para averiguarlo. ¿Dónde estabas? En el gimnasio. ¿Estás seguro que quieres contestar eso? Llamaste al club de la calle 6 que no estaba ahí. ¿No va a cantar? No, para nada, porque en realidad yo estaba en la otra serie, en Macao. ¿Hace semanas te voy a quedar peor de mí? No. Bueno, si te vas a sentir mejor, puedes llamar y te hacer. ¿Qué piensas de eso? Yo no necesito haber llamado para confirmar eso, pero yo confío en él. Además, ya conoces a Ron y él es así. Todos los hombres son así. A mí me suena que la actualidad me han engañado los últimos 4 noches, así que siempre pensaba lo peor. ¿Sabes que me gana Floyd?
Sigamos.
Por eso es fácil.
Ah. Ya los encontré. Terminar esas frases. Y ya está, tranquilos.
Por eso pienso que no me está engañando. Pero digo, esa vieja no es una broma. Casi no quería escucharme, pero está viendo mucho sentido. Y no sé cómo se funciona.
Oscar.
Antes de dar dejando ver no es importante,
Negrete.
pero lo decía.
Oscar Negrete.
Nunca le tengo tanta energía. No sé, es decir, quisieran ver más o menos de de este tipo de cosas. ¿Cómo te das cuenta? Roy lo poníamos todo en las chetas de que así caminábamos juntos a cocinar. Casi nunca usábamos suficiente. ¿Qué haces con el vestido? Porque decírtelo, pero hubo una cuenta de oficina por el cuerpo. Qué bien. El juego había sido hace pocos días, así que era posible que no hubiera ganado esta cuenta.
Ya les doy. Segundo, Copobots. Oscar Negrete ha lanzado menos golpes. .8 de efectividad. Seguimos. Seguimos. Ella se Seguimos. Y nos vemos. Seguimos escuchando.
Not as, sturdy at 126 or 130, but if he can comfortably make weight,
Últimos 10 a 2 segundos.
That's great cut as he kind of pushes.
Nos vamos de Oscar Negrete. Un minuto poco.
What are you doing, man? One round to go here in Fantasy Springs Resort Casino.
Ten cuidado. He cannot beat you unless he drops you. That shit ain't gonna happen. Okay? ¿Entiendes? Okay. Now fuck this guy, okay? Don't let him get dirty on you like that. No brinques mucho. Just walk with him. Si lo miras cerquitas al cabrón, con el jam, hijo, ya primero, okay? Sí. Todo está bien, pero está bien. No dejes que se descontrole y get off balance. Stay balanced, okay? You don't need to go look for an apple. Don't let that shit happen. Okay? That's right. Look at that. Hey.
And here's what I mean with Rios throwing punches from every angle. Right hand, left hook, right uppercut. That's good. Negrete has nowhere to hide. And those shots aren't really powerful, but they're still doing damage.
You heard Hector Lopez tell Ronnie Rios, don't let him go and get dirty on him.
I agree, because after such a fine performance, the last thing
Headbutt looked like a headbutt.
the last thing you need is a headbutt and a cut to keep
Really, Negrete es una buena pelea.
That's the last thing you want is
Es que de hecho, Rios, Negrete, ambos esquivas. Dos golpes de Rios, Negrete esquiva. Ahora dos golpes de Negrete, Rios esquiva. Dos golpes de Rios, Negrete esquiva. Negrete bajando guardia.
Uppercuts, the body punches, the right cross, it's all gone right for Rios.
absolutely.
Sí, pues, una de, es que de hecho, Rios. De Negrete, de Negrete, puede pegar Negrete, Negrete camina bien, todavía. 3 minutos, no. There goes.
Ronnie Rios started fighting calmly.
Right hand connected there for Negrete.
He's getting a little too calm now, but he started fighting calmly from the first round all the way into the 10th round now. This is what's making this performance so special, that he's not wasting any energy. Everything's really powerful and landing at a high percentage. Not even breathing hard.
One thing you know about the Red Bull, probably do this coming in. Great shit. I can take so much. 30 rounds with Josh Franco, took another 12 from Ray Vargas. Now he's going to go 10 with Ronnie Rios. So
De pronto este mito de una gente. Tiene 2 millones de
Before the spike
éxitos.
started, Sergio said Rios would outland Negrete 3-1 and outthrow Negrete by 2-1. What would you say?
No way. I would think anyone that knew what they were watching any boxing aficionado would tell you the same thing.
Eso está por de Shiva.
That just goes to show you how solid of a performance.
30 segundos finales.
It's a Ronnie Rios show here. He's not doing anything spectacular, but that's what makes him a fine fighter. Not the fastest, not the strongest, but he's a technician in there. When he's in shape and motivated, we're seeing what we get.
Ya olvidó que sí. ¿Qué está? Okay.
Ronnie Rios made it look easy, and it's never easy when you fight Oscar Negrete.
Around.
Best you've seen him?
Yeah, I would say one of the best since his early days, but it was just a fine looking performance. I mean, he's not even breathing hard. It was a very, very good performance from all angles. He threw every punch in the book, and against a solid opponent who's never been stopped. You know, so I don't know if he went in there thinking he was going to get the knockout here, but all in all, he controlled the pace of the fight. He hurt and rocked his head on several occasions. Never let up, but he fought smart, he fought intelligent. He kept the pressure on.
Would you like to see him against Brandon Figueroa perhaps next? Is that a fight you want to see?
I think it's a good fight. I think we're being honest. We want to look at the political landscape. I think MJ Akadalia is probably an easier fight to make. Akadalia is aligned with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Golden Boy, Matchroom, both aligned with the zone. Akadalia is going to have to deal with his mandatories over the next few months, but at some point later, 2021, I think Akadalia versus Ronnie Rios could be a good fight.
This is what I'm talking about. Just all these punches are hard punches, not falling off balance. Everything's clean with technique behind it. There's no arm punches and none of those. You see Negrete landing an overhand right. Too far in between, though. Rios kept coming back, and every time he was against the ropes, Rios just found a home for every punch in the book. They've been taking some nice shots in this fight.
The hat is on, the gloves are off, as Ronnie Rios and his trainer Hector Lopez will surely pick up their 33rd win together. They've been partners since day one through thick and thin, and now it's starting to pay dividends, and perhaps a title shot could come later this year or next. Joe Martinez with the officials.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards, and here are the totals. Both Fernando Villarreal and Dr. Lou Moran have it 100-90. Rudy Barragan scores at 99-91. All three for your winner by unanimous decision from Santana Califas, Ronnie Rios.
So Ronnie Rios, 33-3, winner by unanimous decision, and two judges, Chris, had him winning every single round.
Yeah, it was a shutout. I know you asked Chris, but I'm going to answer that question for you, Todd. It was a shutout, and I think that's why I'm really praising Ronnie Rios' performance right now, because he did everything real cool, real calm, and he won every round. And that's aside from a knockout, that's exactly what you want out of a fighter.
Let's jump back into our highlights from this one. It went all 10 rounds in the super bantamweight division. Rios and Negrete.
It's a solid combination. See, every punch was nice and hard. The foundation was there. Picking him up with uppercuts, landing those body shots. Negrete showed that he was in this fight. He was throwing his own punches, landing some punches occasionally. Ronnie Rios was aware of that, moving his head on his toes, but coming back with combinations. It's the body shots that was impressed with Ronnie Rios here.
Yeah, he picked up right where he left off in 2019 when he stopped Diego De La Hoya, when he stopped Hugo Barrier, when he beat them down with body shots that's sneaking in those big, heavy punches. The fact this went to a decision, Sergio, to me, has nothing to do with a lack of power from Ronnie Rios. That is just a great chin and a sturdy body from Oscar Negrete. Just didn't have enough offense at this weight to make Ronnie Rios back off.
And also, he wasn't getting hit with those right hands that he normally got hit with by Castellanos and Obasian. The fact that he wasn't susceptible to the right hands. He learned that he's moving his head a little bit more and minding his defense, not just being offensive.
Here's our CompuBox statistics, and again, very surprising considering the history of Oscar Negrete, 830 thrown, which is certainly nothing to sneeze at, Sergio, but the fact that Rios threw 50 more and landed 140 more, that's the big surprise.
That's the big surprise, and that's why I'm really impressed with this performance by Rios, because he shut down a volume puncher like Negrete, a fighter that wanted to be in this fight, but Ronnie Rios was way too much, way too sharp, and it showed.
Beto Duran now with our winner.
Thank you, guys. Now, Ronnie Rios, a couple years ago, you said you were done. You were retired. Driving Uber, cleaning the toilet, and boxing. It's all you know how to do. Tonight, you come in against a very game Oscar Negrete. You sweep the cards. What's changed about you?
I would say my work ethic, to be honest with you. I just want to improve myself. Like, for example, today I gave myself a C. You know, and I'm very hard on myself, and I think it's could have done a lot better. And I guess it's just, I don't know, I'm so the last couple fights were by stoppage. But I know I can't stop somebody like Negrete. He's so tough. But you know, I have to go review the tape. And like I said, no one's harder than on some than me.
A C. That's what you're giving yourself. Professor Ronnie is going to give himself a C. Now, who's next? Who do you want?
I know they mentioned MJ. You know, that's a fight that I would want. You know, so if we can make that happen, let's go ahead. If not, then whoever has the belt, it doesn't matter. I just want to, like I've always said from the beginning of my career, I don't pick and choose. I don't go with the easier route. I go whoever's considered the toughest. And obviously, he's a tough fighter, you know.
Line them up and just put them in there. That's what you want. Now, what has changed about you mentally, Ronnie Rios?
Just trying to get better, you know. I'm just trying to get I'm trying to get the best of myself out of me. Like every time I go sparring, my coach says, "Man, that was a good job," you know. But I'm always hard on myself. I'm never happy. Honestly, I'm not happy today. I'm not happy with today's performance. To be honest with you, I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat it. I'm not happy with my performance today.
Now, a few years ago, I said that story before you walked out. You had $3 in your bank account, trying to figure out if you can get that combo. Where you're at right now, one step closer to a championship. Where's that belief come from in you?
I'll tell you this, it's not for the money, to be honest with you. This is just like I said, I want to be the best Ronnie I could possibly be and see where I stand up against the best. Like I said, I just want to challenge myself. That's it.
Well, a challenge is pretty soon coming your way. Ronnie, congratulations on the victory. Goes back home to Santana with the W, Todd.
A C. Yeah. Wow. It's like Sergio Mora's scorecard from C to shining C. As we get set for our co-main event later tonight. But of course, 2 weeks from tonight, down in South Florida, it is the return of the one and only pound-for-pound king, Canelo Alvarez.
Greatness doesn't take a day off. Greatness is a sacrifice. It's not given. It's taken. Greatness is born hungry. It's never satisfied.
Hey, who's next?
Everybody wants a piece of greatness. But greatness wants a piece of everything.
Canelo Alvarez, this is a champion in his prime. Pound for pound, the #1 fighter in the world.
Cannot wait to get to Hard Rock Stadium there in South Florida. Miami, Canelo versus Hildrum. What's your thought process on this fight, Chris, when you heard the announcement that he'd be fighting as mandatory?
Well, look, it's not a A-level fight like we're used to seeing Canelo take on, but Canelo wants to stay busy. He fought only one time in 2020, and he wants to be active over the next 12 months. Now, in recent years, we've kind of become accustomed to seeing top-level fighters fight only a couple times per year. But you go into the time machine, and look, fighters fought 4 or 5 times. Oscar De La Hoya in 1997 fought 5 times. Julio Cesar Chavez in 1993, he fought 5 times. You want to go back even further? 1942, Sugar Ray Robinson fought 14 times, including the first time against Jake LaMotta. So fighting only twice a year is something that's only kind of a relatively recent occurrence. Canelo's going to fight Yildirim, and then he's going to move on, potentially face Billy Joe Saunders. Caleb Plant is out there for a unification, and then I'll fight a lot of people still interested in potentially Gennady Golovkin. So we could see Canelo in the ring 5 times over the next 12 months.
How much in jeopardy is Canelo really in this fight? How much of a chance does this massive underdog really have, Sergio?
Well, listen, the way Canelo looked in his last fight with Callum Smith, we can say that Hildrum doesn't stand much of a chance. Let's be real. This is a stay busy fight for Canelo. But if you speak to Hildrum, he'll tell you differently. If you talk to his trainer, he'll tell you something differently. So he does have skill. He has been in there with some world-class opposition, and he's come up short. He's going in there with the absolute best in his prime, at his strongest. That's that man right there in Canelo. Hildrum's going to have his hands full. Can he make it ugly? Absolutely. Can he go the distance? Absolutely. Can he knock out a fighter that's never been knocked out or beat up a fighter that's never been beaten up? It's too much to ask, in my opinion.
Joel Diaz, the trainer for Hildrum, said, I've tried to turn him into a non-robot, Chris. That's not easy to do, but he says he's done it. Do you believe it?
Look, I think Joel Diaz is a top-level trainer, and I'm sure he's added something to Yildirim's game. But Yildirim's philosophy, at least in the fights that I've seen, most recently Anthony Jarrell, is to kind of fight fire with fire when you get into that type of fight. And if he gets in there with Canelo, I don't know if he's going to be as unpredictable in this fight that Joel Diaz hopes he is.
All right, well, our very own Beto Duran was able to catch up with the King earlier this week in his training camp in San Diego.
Imaginé la magnitud de lo que siempre imaginé lo mejor, ser campeón mundial y ser uno de los mejores, pero nunca imaginé todo lo que viene en eso, ¿no? Y la verdad es que cuando te lo crees, cuando haces lo que amas y lo haces con la responsabilidad que es, con la disciplina que es, llegas a cualquier lado.
He looked relaxed, but how was he in person? Beto, you were there with the champ. What was it like to be with Canelo?
He was locked in. We had about half an hour sit down with Canelo Alvarez. We're talking about what he wants to do for his next fight this year coming up. They kept talking about unifying 168, but then we got into the legacy part. And Canelo was talking about how he started off his career at 15 years old, and his first check was in tickets. He had to give it to his family, but the way he's been going in his career, he said he wants to make history. He wants younger fighters to look up and say, you know what? That's what Canelo Alvarez did. I want to get to his level and try to pass him. He kind of had that little twinkle in his eye. Said, I kind of want them to do it, but I don't think they're going to. He is so locked in on what he wants to accomplish. It's not just about this fight, the next fight. It's about the rest of his career, Todd.
Yeah, he's made it a big point to say, I want to go down as the greatest fighter ever to come from Mexico, Sergio. That is not easy to do when you're staring at a guy, one of your personal favorites, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. More on that fight, of course, later on as we prepare for Canelo's return in 2 weeks. But right now, we get set for our co-main event of the evening, and it is for the WBO Junior Middleweight title, a 12-rounder between Brazil's Patrick Teixeira, 31-1 with 22 KOs, and Brian Castaño out of Buenos Aires, Argentina. He's undefeated, 16-0-1 with 12 KOs. At the weigh-in yesterday, both men looking fit and trim, all smiles there from Castaño. He's got a great personality, a great smile, always energetic, ready to go. Teixeira, look at that. And when he fights and gets hit, Sergio, he opens his mouth, and his last fight, he had a white mouth guard, and it looks like he's smiling the whole time, like he's enjoying himself. But I think he likes punishing fighters,
especially in that last fight with Adames. I mean, he had some grip in that fight. He was cutting both sides. And that second half of the fight, when he dropped Adames in a fight that he was behind on the scorecard, I mean, it just showed that he's ready to move on and be a different fighter now. He showed resolve, he showed resilience, he showed courage, and now we're seeing this champion step up in his biggest fight where he's the underdog.
Teixeira does have one loss, Chris Mannix, and what a loss it was.
Yeah, lost to Curtis Stevens a few years back, second-round knockout. Stevens, of course, one of the biggest punchers in the middleweight division. This is back when Teixeira was campaigning at 160 pounds. Stevens caught him with a big overhand right. To Teixeira's credit, he got up, tried to continue, but the referee looked at him and said, no dice. After that, Teixeira dropped back down to 154 pounds. He's won a few fights in a row, and then he took on a top prospect in Carlos Adames. Carlos Adames is somebody, or was somebody, that Top Rank has been really high on for a number of years. He was dominating that fight against Teixeira for the first 6 rounds. Teixeira had cuts around both eyes, including one bad one under his right eye. But Teixeira stayed tough, knocked Adames down in that 7th round, and outboxed him for the rest of the fight. That made me wonder, Sergio, are we seeing a new Patrick Teixeira? Did we finally see Patrick Teixeira at age 30?
That's what I was kind of touching on as well. I'm glad you saw that too. I think we are. When a fighter discovers that part of him, that he can fight through the best, fight through getting knocked down, and finally get to the championship level, you got a whole lease on life, a whole lease as a champion.
¿Cómo se supone un poco de desde la indicación, no tiene que ser una pregunta ¿quién se les ocurre que un referee tan experimentado como ya acá eso?
The promoter's hometown. He's fighting here. I don't understand it, but physically, I can tell you, this man has heavy hands. Very athletic, very agile with his feet. Knows how to fight small. And like Curtis Stevens, who knocked out Patrick Teixeira, he's the same height at 5'7".
Well, here we go. Are we right, or are the bookies right? We think it's going to be a fantastic brawl. They think it's going to be a one-way mismatch. Here's the tale of the tape. Teixeira is 30. He's the champ. The challenger, Castaño, is 31. Look at the height differential. Teixeira almost 4 full inches taller, and the reach is almost 10 inches. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the unified rules. No standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. You cannot be saved by the bell in any round, and only the referee can stop the fight. Into the ring now, and Joe Martinez.
Well, my fans, we are set to go with a co-featured bout this evening, 12 rounds for the WBO Junior Middleweight title. And ready to make his way to the ring first, fighting out of the blue corner, the challenger from Argentina, Brian Castaño.
I spent some time this week, Todd, talking to different matchmakers and boxing executives about Castaño, and it's pretty unanimous. They believe he is the real deal. A decorated amateur, one blemish on his resume, that was the draw against Erislandy Lara. When you watch that fight, most people believe that Castaño did enough to earn the win. And as a smaller guy at 154, he is used to facing taller fighters. He has fought 2 high-level southpaws. He's used to that style as well. Brian Castaño sees this fight as his coming out party.
And his opponent ready to make his way to the ring, fighting out of the red corner, hailing from Brazil. Here's the reigning junior middleweight world champion, Patrick Teixeira.
You know, talking to Teixeira this week about the Adames fight, you would have assumed that he had this great camp. He says he didn't. He said he was forced to train entirely in Brazil for that fight, where he couldn't get good sparring. For this fight, he spent 8 weeks in the U.S., got great sparring, and says he's in significantly better shape this time around.
He looks the part, and he is the reigning and defending champion. Can he hold on to that title against a very tough, up-and-coming Brian Castaño?
And now here we go, ladies and gentlemen, from Fantasy Springs Resort Casino, Indio, California, our co-feature bout of the evening. 12 rounds scheduled for the WBO Junior Middleweight Championship of the World. Brought to you by Oscar de la Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions and sponsored by Hennessy, Never Stop, Never Settle, and Bet Online. All tonight's fight odds are brought to you by BetOnline.com. The 3 judges scoring this bout at ringside, Robert Boyle, Dr. Lou Moret, and Zach Young. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Jack Reed. Introducing to you first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black and silver. He weighed in 153 3/4 pounds. In 17 professional fights, he is unbeaten with 16 victories, including 12 knockouts, no defeats, and 1 draw. Hailing from and fighting out of Buenos Aires, Argentina, here is the WBO #1 ranked contender in the world, Brian Castaño. And across the ring, his opponent fighting out of the red corner, wearing blue with yellow. He weighed in 153 1/2 pounds. In 32 professional fights, his record outstanding with 31 victories, just 1 defeat. 22 big wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the reigning, defending WBO Junior Middleweight Champion of the World from Sombrio, Santa Catarina, Brazil, presenting Patrick Teixeira.
Right here. Right here. Right here, please. Right here, please. You know me? Okay. Both trucks. Poquito ahí. A little bit high. Abajo aquí no bueno. Aquí bueno. Okay. Préstame atención. Todo lento. Duro. Limpio. Buena suerte. Todo lo más.
You know, the Brazil-Argentina rivalry is largely centered in soccer. In boxing, it's had its moments. In 2003, Pablo Freitas and Jorge Barrios, they fought an absolute war for the super featherweight title. This fight is half as good for all
Sino
goals.
siya pa prima ma'am, Brian Castaño pati
Castaño's
Teixeira.
reach, almost half of that is Teixeira. Can the bigger, longer Teixeira impose
Teixeira também vai sim sa Castaño.
Castaño get inside and beat the Brazilian down? 12 rounds, ladies and gentlemen.
That's exactly what Castaño does. Comfortable with aggression and pressure and really fast feet. He's a very athletic fighter. And he's also powerful.
Back to the rivalry. We have to share about it.
Vamos,
Any win,
Brian, no quiero.
any victory. Extra special taste. Taller, longer guy, Sergio. You've had someone who's much shorter than you. How did you keep them at range?
You know, I wasn't much of a jab. He doesn't have that head movement, or he's not as fast with his feet. He needs to use that 8-inch reach advantage, 9-inch reach advantage, just like he's doing right there. The chest and the belly and the torso. That's exactly what he needs to do to keep Castaño off.
You know, the wild card of this fight is the long layoffs. Both these guys have had layoffs for over a year. How that will affect either one of them, if at all, is another question.
The only time you see, I wouldn't say the only time, but mostly the only time you see someone with a 9-inch reach advantage, it's at the heavyweight division, much less the junior middleweight division. See how Castaño handles it.
You can see that Castaño. Opponents with dipping his head down and coming over the top.
You know, some bigger guys fight smaller. For instance, man sitting in this ring in this arena who we've heard of many times, Oscar De La Hoya. When he fought Manny Pacquiao, he was much taller and longer, but he was crouched down a little bit, and they looked at him as the same size.
Castaño knows how to jump in.
Es más chiquita la gente que puede, ya tiene ventaja.
Jumping up like that, but he has no choice. It was taller for sure. And another misconception is that a shorter man can't out jab a taller fighter. I mean, it's hard to do, but it's definitely possible. It just takes timing and footwork to inch your way in with your back foot. Stop.
Remember para Castaño. Miremos, el argentino comentó más. Pero soy Brian Castaño.
You know, Todd, you mentioned the height of Patrick Teixeira's middleweight division has seen some big boxers. Paul Williams, as you know, right around 6'1". Right now, Sebastian Fundora is 6'7". He's a monstrous.
How much longer do you think he can stay in that division?
I'm shocked there now.
I mean,
Es que te Brian Castaño.
malnourished. He looks a big dad.
What? Es que te hecho Brian Castaño. Te llevas esquiva.
Castaño's already
5 golpes de Brian Castaño.
Open up. And this is what Castaño does so well. He puts on pressure, he forces his opponents to open up and attack.
Es que te hecho Brian Castaño.
Stockier, explosive fighter.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sergio, but it seems like any time Teixeira tries to throw a body punch, he leaves that chin high and dry.
No, that's the problem.
Es que te hecho Brian.
Yeah, that long of a reach advantage.
No más de segundo salto. Está ganando todavía la Argentina.
The taller fighter has the natural advantage. That's not the case. It's all about your footwork.
One thing to watch too. Teixeira's had, you said, over a year since the last fight. Sitting with him in the fighter meeting, so we can still
Bueno,
start this
Brian Castaño ya después cada hoja patriotismo todavía sigue ganando el argentino por mucha más diferencia.
If you look at their footwork, Castaño has lighter feet. He's getting on angles right there, switching southpaw back to
Fútbol
orthodox.
sigue ganando el
A
argentino.
fight where they're battling for foot position because it's southpaw and orthodox, but not only that, it's the fact that Teixeira doesn't have the foot speed to keep up with the speed of Castaño.
We've already seen one big upset today, even more
Buen golpe.
difference in odds in this one. Mauricio Lara, Josh Warrington over England today. Did anybody see that coming, Chris Van?
No, that was right out of nowhere. Basically, Lara at one point was a 12-1 underdog. He came out and just physically dominated Josh Warrington. Didn't just stop and put him on his back and put him out. What a huge win.
Buenas, dime.
Tough setback, Josh Warrington. Make some noise.
Aprieta el botón de acelerador.
You're watching on demand here on DAZN. You can watch all of Matchroom's fight cards from the UK here on DAZN. Right now, Castaño starting to land his punch. Nice left there from Teixeira.
5 golpes de Brian Castaño, una patriotismo.
Being undersized is just familiar.
Muy buena narración, sí tengo. Mirando.
And I asked him, like, have you ever fought anybody?
Castaño esquiva.
You were talking about 30 seconds, about one guy. Everybody else has been talking.
10 rondas finais.
It probably happened if he's 8 years old, too.
Wampa Castaño. 10. Se hacen con Tutsi también está.
We're back. You're looking at the corner of Brian Castaño, who said he had to work as a street sweeper as a child. Said he was ashamed at first to cover his head with a jacket, but in time he said he actually became proud of that job because the money he made helped his family, and ever since then he said he's never hung his head.
Miremos las estadísticas. Brian Castaño mide el segundo más.
With him right now, and how much prouder they would be if he could beat
El
Teixeira
tercero también lo está mirando.
WBO junior middleweight champion.
Not only that, but I believe his father was a boxer, professional fighter as well as one of his brothers. He comes from a fighting family.
To get inside now, being much more aggressive is the Argentinian. Are we going with Argentinian, Chris, or Argentine? Dealer's choice.
Teixeira needs to move his head. If he's going to stand up like that, he's bound to get caught with something overhand. It's fast like Castaño. He's too explosive. See, that's something that we're not used to seeing from Teixeira. Is dip shots like that going under, making himself.
Castaño.
Teixeira's sort of evolved as a fighter.
Escapa pata Teixeira.
He averaged 130 punches per round in that fight. Since the Stevens fight,
Sixth
he's been a
round.
lot more selective, still throwing a high number.
Va ganando Castaño. Para mí.
To keep up with this pace, you've got to be more active than he has been for the first 2 rounds.
I knew Castaño was a real deal.
Buenas Castaño.
Got a draw with
Estoy
another
professional.
But then I saw a fight where he actually beat Sergey Derevchenko in the World Series of Boxing. I thought that was a real deal. He has that background and resume.
Castaño in the amateur ranks has been Guerrero Spence Jr. as well, so very well-regarded amateur fighter now fighting.
The over-under on this fight, about 10.5 rounds, was basically a pickup from what you've seen so far.
Buenas Castaño. Castaño de
Now looks like he's struggling with the pressure of Castaño. This is Castaño does. He breaks down opponents with strength and pressure and explosiveness.
Ya le tira el ojo,
man. We're gonna have to get to the 7th round.
No se desgaste, Castaño.
Wave the white flag.
Son
Actually,
12.
Sheriff, you only watched the first 6 rounds of that fight against Adames. He was getting dominated. His face was a bloody mess. He dug down and knocked Adames down in that fight in 7th. That changed the course of the fight. He may have to do the exact same thing. Land the kind of punch that puts Castaño down to change the course of this one.
Listen, that's a great point, Chris, and I'm not putting it past the Sheriff because it's just exactly, you're right, how he looked against Adames in that first half of the fight, and he turned it on in the second half.
Todavía Brian Castaño está hablando.
Before they light up. Vander Holyfield was world famous for that. Just when you thought he was done, he was just getting started.
Sí, señor. Brian Castaño, mira.
But Castaño certainly applying all the pressure here in round 3.
Tercer round finalizado. 19 para Castaño.
Will be our main event. There is Jojo Diaz. Gotta wonder what's going on between his ears right now, Sergio. Of course, he did not make weight. He's no longer the champion. A lot of things going on in his personal life right now. How much of this fight tonight will come down to his mentality?
I would say most of it's going to be to his mentality because he's gonna be thinking about losing that weight and being dehydrated and not being at his best, and then having to redeem himself with all the criticism he took for not making weight. So not only is it going to be a physical challenge, it's going to be a mental challenge for him.
And there's Rakimov, Chris. Not much known about him except that he loves to throw a lot of punches and he aims for the body.
Now he's working out with Freddie Roach, who is known for enhancing the offensive ability of his fighters. Got something to work with in Rakimov.
And there's that right hook at the end of that round that finally caught Adames, but Castaño coming right back after that shot.
Miremos cómo tiene
Round 4.
More
More entertaining round by round. Who knows what it's going to look like by round 10 if we get that far.
Castaño's not going to relent with his aggression. This isn't his style of fighting, so Teixeira's going to have to do something else. And this is what he did with Adames. Teixeira had to fight on the inside and land body shots and uppercuts. Fight the smaller man's fight in order to get the score. He might have to do the exact same thing with Castaño tonight.
I want to thank the California Commission for all they've done this week, along with Golden Word Promotions, and of course, everyone here at DAZN during this pandemic to pull this event off.
Good body shot by Teixeira, the one before that straight low, but I love the fact that Castaño didn't even blink. He didn't say nothing. That's a fighter for you.
Yeah, Castaño's just getting
Hizo
warmed up.
Castaño. No se deje con el top de ese Teixeira. Por lo menos ya Castaño superó a Teixeira en golpes. El tipo también se está llevando.
Chris, how do you have it scored for 3 full rounds?
We got 3 rounds to none. Castaño, end of that 3rd round. I thought Teixeira landed the best punch. That strong right hand. So far, all Castaño dictated the pace, landed the cleaner shots. Teixeira needs to do something to change things up.
First round felt pretty close, but the last 2 seemingly all pretty arduous.
Tengo
I
una
like what
fecha
Teixeira's attempting to do right here. He's trying to land a body shot to a smaller opponent right there. See that right there? That's a good body shot.
Sí, 5 golpes de Castaño. 6.
But it's worth it by investing to the body down there. Because then it sets up that uppercut.
Corpo Watts me dice rápidamente. Seguir dice como apuntaba. Mira, mate. 26%. Brian Castaño ya ha superado muchísimo. ¿Cuánto asalto? ¿Cuántos asaltos para Castaño? Yo, Castaño, es que buena derecha, Brian. Buena derecha. Buena izquierda. Buena izquierda. Está dando la mitad. Brian Castaño. 4 golpes de Brian Castaño muy buenos. 45 está perdiendo. 10 segundos finales. ¿Cuánto? Vamos, ¿cuánto?
No, I don't think that's the case here.
Bien, Brian. Bien, Brian. Carlos Castaño.
And you can clearly see he's not breathing hard going in this corner right now. Nice and calm and relaxed.
Okay, está trabajando bien. Si va a tirar golpes con él, tiene que estar atento a lo que está haciendo. Okay, a ver, suave.
Está quedando.
Está bien. Es de lejos, de lejos. Busca. Ve para abajo, ve para arriba. No nomás busques abajo. ¿Ok? Él nomás está pensando que va a ir para abajo, ahora cambia de para arriba. ¿Ok? Y luego otra vez de cambio para abajo. Sí, trabajando así, para arriba, para abajo. Sí, trabajando. Un poquito más arriba con las golpes. Un poquito más fuerte. No, mira. Un poquito más fuerte. Ya te tira un poquito más. Está pensando. Él con la pared de tirar ya está pensando. La banda será. Cinco.
¿Cómo tuvo
Brian Castano undefeated. He is the challenger, the champ. Patrick Teixeira in the blue and gold trunks. He is the
Brian Castano pediu
middleweight champion fighting out of Brazil. Still to come tonight, of course, our main event, Joseph Diaz and Rakhimov.
You know, we know the WBO title is on the line in this fight, but the spoils that come with it is also on the line. Del Charlo's out there angling for 154-pound miseducation fight. And of course, Terrence Crawford is looking for a big fight. He's a candidate to face Patrick Teixeira if he wins. I'm really impressed with this guy so far. There's so much everything we've seen.
Nós atualizamos.
Fights. I thought he won the first. We've seen a lot of that type of pressure.
Nós atualizamos.
Uppercut for Teixeira.
Y Brian Castano está ganando quinto round también.
Just like he did with Adames, I'm telling you.
Ya se respetó en el quinto. Ya se respetó bien.
You're going to have to dig down deep and get the respect of Castano on the inside. Good attempt right there with the left hand. Right to Teixeira. See that shot right there, that body shot right there. I like that body shot. I want to see more body shots from Teixeira. Then turn those into uppercuts.
Counter right there. Castano.
What kind of range Castano wants to be.
Punch by Castano, backing up. Uppercuts, left hooks, right hooks.
Castano está ganando de Teixeira todavía.
I'm talking about him being so athletic and agile. He has the better feet between the two. And when it comes to get two guys with power, whoever's going to set up that power with position is going to have the advantage. Right now, the advantage is all.
También en golpes.
And that's what Joel Diaz was saying that Yildirim's going to have to do against Canelo. You can't let him get comfortable. You got to get him out of his rhythm and make him think, not let him get into his groove.
I've heard every trainer or fighter say some variation of that when it comes to Canelo.
What else can they say? What then you tell us? What's the key to beating Canelo? Chris Mannix.
Y eso no.
Well, he's still out there.
Good shot. Right to Teixeira, right back at Castano.
This is really starting to heat up here in the desert.
One time, Rob.
Here we're going to see Teixeira land the uppercuts that are going to be key in this fight. It's going to be uppercuts and body shots because Castano's not going to relent on attacking him and trying to keep
Vamos para el sexto round de Castano Teixeira.
and find him inside with those
Espérate
uppercuts
un
and body
minuto.
shots.
Castaño está dominando mucho.
They're right there.
Ya la presión va a ser en la Teixeira en la ceja. En esta ceja. La presión ¿Qué tiene? Según Comport, Brian Castaño ganó round. Sí, Brian Castaño ganó round por mucho. Pero va ganando el sexto también. Igual que también los golpes a poder. También los golpes a poder. Está ganando Castaño.
Anytime a fighter has almost 200 amateur fights, you know he's fought some of the best around the world.
Estamos ya les doy un tiempo que me ponga acá. 2:10. Teixeira se está cansando, Brian no tiene. Yo creo que la gente no tiene apego. Nos faltan 6 rounds para. ¿Y quién está dominando? Teixeira también se cansa.
Last night, he showed a lot of respect for Teixeira and the
Ya Teixeira se le toca.
kind of perplexed by Adamas' performance. Just,
Buena batalla. No tiene, Brian Castaño no tiene parte de Teixeira. Con Puts nos dice lo siguiente. Va ganando el round también Brian.
Started in the middle of the round, trying to land that right hook, but Castaño's just too much for that.
Teixeira está pasando lo mismo que ahora sí. Hay que irlo mucho. Comienza combate space, pero ya es mejor. Es mi igualdad. Realmente tiene Teixeira Castaño. Está buenísima.
Great job cutting off the ring.
Teixeira looks like he has a leash